This thing you call reality is nothing but a computer simulation. In the year 8675309, in a reality where everybody looks like Slimer from the movie Ghostbusters, the only thing real is consciousness.
Wait, you're blowing my mind at this moment. So you're saying, are you saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers?
That is correct. So,
wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos.
Welcome to 3NN Podcast with your hosts with the most, Nick Tesla and Brian McFadden.
Welcome everybody to 3NN Podcast episode 23, simulation episode. My name is Nick Tesla, his name is
Brian McFadden.
Hey! Alright, we're here to have a good time. Beep, beep. That means it's
Ignore
time
that, it's not real.
Get on like Donkey Kong. Those beeps, those here. You ever hear? Here you go, Brian, right? You ever hear is a perfect way to start it out. Do you ever, sometimes you're just sitting on the couch, like you might be watching TV, maybe you're not, maybe you're listening to music or something, maybe you're just sitting there in silence, reading a book or something, and all of a sudden you hear, beep. You start hearing that beep, like you remember when they made you do, they used to check your hearing in grade school, and you'd come down to the nurse's office or whatever, they'd have this big briefcase, the football-looking thing, and they'd plop it down and put the headphones on you, and they'd be like, all right, tell us what side of your head do you hear it on, and it would always be like, beep. It would always just be like a real high-pitched noise you could just barely hear.
I do remember
But do you ever hear that outside of that machine? Do you ever hear that? Have you heard that since? I do, maybe like once or twice, maybe 2 or 3 times a year that'll happen to me. It only happens for maybe like 30 seconds or a minute.
Yeah.
But it's like, what is that? Where is that coming from? Yeah, maybe it's, they say it's your eardrums ringing, and they say it could be, or I don't know who says this, but it's like it's produced by your own body. It's just your body being aware of a noise for a split second that your body's making. But I don't know about all that. Could that be us tuning into the actual signal of reality? And it's like, wait, signal of reality. Have you heard of the Taos hum?
No.
Ooh, the Taos hum. If you go to Taos, New Mexico, there is many people. It's been recorded and documented. You think to yourself, like, that's goofy, that's stupid. Like, there's no way that's actually happening. These people, there's just something wrong with these people, right? But there's hundreds of people in Taos, New Mexico over the years who hear what's called the Taos hum, which is they say it's like scary. It's almost got like an ominous, scary movie sound to it. But it's basically just like a... But they always hear it. They can't escape it. Problem is, when they go to Taos, they don't hear it. Their whole life, they don't hear it. Then all of a sudden they go to Taos, and what happens? They start hearing it. Then they're like, all right, well, I need to get away from this sound. And they're like, all right, I'm going to go to New York City to get away from that. New York City's far enough from New Mexico. They go to New York City, all the hustle and bustle, they're still hearing it. What? Exactly. They go, all right, they're like, all right, you know what? I'm going over to England. I can't hear it from across the pond. They're still hearing it once they get to England. Okay, I'm going to Fiji. I'm going to get as far away from the United States as I can. I'm getting into some secluded area. I'm going to Fiji or the Congo or something. Well, Congo's not that secluded, is it?
Well, kind of. If you go deposit yourself in the friggin' middle of the forest,
deposit yourself.
Deposit yourself. Fuck right.
These people go to Fiji, they still hear the Taos hum. They can't escape it. I bet you the Taos hum has actually also been responsible for some people committing suicide. I
could see that.
If you want to, and it's funny because you think of the Taos hum, right? And the Taos hum, if you know how to spell, or if you know of Taos, New Mexico, Taos. All right. What's another thing very closely spelled like that? The Tao. The Tao. All right. And now, when I'm more interested than these modern religions like Islam and Christianity and Scientology. I'm not really a fan of these modern religions, okay? I want to know the story behind Scientology because it sounds batshit crazy. But I'm not a fan of these religions. I'm a fan of Eastern mysticism, Buddhism slightly, esoteric spiritualism, not religious or religions. I'm more interested in spiritualism and what that says about the foundations and the basis of reality.
Oh, first, I just tried to search out Taos Hum to see what I could find.
Oh, yeah, read it. Is there a Wikipedia page? Give me the Wikipedia, the first paragraph of the Wikipedia page.
But I will say one of the first actual web page results that came up suggests it has to do with harp. But anyway,
Yes, it has to do with harp.
Yeah.
See, that's how Google has created a, what do you call it for you? Google has created they've given you your own kind of internet.
Yeah,
your cookies have created a certain internet for you, whereas 90% of the people out there who look up the Taos Hum, they're going to get just like the Wikipedia page. Or this
I got the Wikipedia page, but
well, on their first listing, there might not be anything about it having to do with harp.
Do you want the very, very top, or do you want the first description?
Is there something on the right-hand side on Google that says the quick description? Sometimes on Google, on the right-hand side, they give the first sentence or whatever from the Wikipedia page. Does it have anything like that? I really just want the first paragraph of the Wikipedia page, which sums it all up.
You know? On the first paragraph of the Wikipedia page, the hum is a phenomenon or collection of phenomena involving widespread reports of a persistent, invasive, low-frequency humming, rumbling, or droning noise not audible to all people. Hums have been widely reported by national media in the UK and the United States. Really? I've never heard of that.
Yes.
The hum is sometimes prefixed with the name of a locality where the problem has been particularized, publicized, e.g. the Bristol hum or the Taos hum.
Okay. Anybody out there who, and Brian's like, what? I've never even heard that. Anybody out there who's like, wait, hums? I don't know. Like, I haven't heard of any other hums anywhere else. If you want to look up a video, I believe the name of the video on YouTube is called Something is Very Wrong, or There's Something Very Wrong Going On 2012. I think that's what it's called. Something very wrong is going on. Let's see if we can find it.
Something
very wrong is going on.
Oh.
2012. Let's see if it'll pull up. 2012, something is going on. All right. Now we're gonna play this for literally maybe about a minute. I'm gonna jump through the video and you can hear the different kind of sounds. And tell me, anybody out there, if you've heard this sound in your locale, please tell me, because it's a crazy sound. Like, some of these sounds are like, holy shit, I would run for the hills if I heard this sound. And it's like, what's also crazy is you would think that was leading up to something was going to happen, or that, like, there would have been a discovery, like, oh, well, this is what was causing these sounds. There were no discoveries. All right, and there's a bunch of news reports on them. There's a lot of information that popped up about them. So we're going to actually watch this video real quick, and I'm going to jump around the video so that everybody can hear. It was actually on worldstarhiphop.com. My God, there's something wrong with the world. But then again, hey, if this kind of stuff is getting to the zombies on worldstarhiphop.com, then that leaves hope that some of the other more important, or not more important, but just as important political and hot-button and current issues are. There's actually a chance that some of the zombies on worldstarhiphop.com may see it. It just bothers me whenever you see it, and that's how you know.
Yeah.
Some of this can't be real, because you see, like, you'll see a fight between two teenage kids, and all these other kids jumping around the fight, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is awesome, blah, blah, everybody cheering, rah, 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 right? Or rabble, 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 rabble. That's what you hear, a lot of rabble, rabble. And you'll see somebody with their cell phone.
That was do that again?
Rabble, 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 rabble. You see somebody with their cell phone, and this guy's literally going in circles around the fight, like, worldstarhiphop.com, worldstarhiphop.com, yo, whoa, worldstarhiphop.com. And it's like everybody, like, in a certain culture, and like maybe it's a younger part of the culture, everybody is, if you got a viral video, yo, worldstarhiphop.com that shit, yo. And it's like, there's something wrong. Maybe I'm just getting old. Like, I refuse to have an Instagram. And Instagram is becoming like the new Facebook, and Facebook is like a dying thing, believe it or not. Within the next 5 years, Facebook will be relegated to sort of a MySpace role, but will be a little more important and a little more relevant to older people such as us. But there won't be many young people on Facebook. Facebook's going to kind of be abandoned by a lot of people. We're coming in the next 5 years, so it's time to start thinking of what's next. But What was I saying? All right, well, we're going to listen to these sounds. These sounds are crazy. I'm going to jump around a little bit, and then we'll be right back after the sounds. But you really got to, like, check this shit out. And it's going to be a little bit of silence for a second. I apologize to anybody out there that doesn't like silence.
We are experiencing technological
We are experiencing technological differences. Please stick with us. Oh shit! It's Beef Supreme! Beef Supreme! Alright, let's get to this shit. This shit is crazy, though. This is for anybody like Brian who's like, wait, hums? Like, there haven't been other hums heard out there. Yes, there have. Listen to this shit.
Okay, let's hear these hums.
Reported hearing some bizarre noises.
Some strange noises heard around the world the last few weeks, from Arizona to England and right next door in Manitoba, all showing folks alarmed by what sounds like a noise straight out of a science fiction flick.
It's kind of like watching a scary movie. The background noise gives you the feeling that something terrible is about to happen.
Strange, mild sound. It seems like it's coming from the sky, anyway.
I've heard that Jesus is coming back. I've heard that it's 2012, the world is ending.
This phenomenon stretched beyond North Battleford. Similar experiences were reported in Saskatoon, northern Saskatchewan, and parts of the U.S., even in Europe.
A terrible mystery gripping the world right now. Birds, fish, and all.
When birds which were flying.
The flares reach the Earth's magnetic field. Hundreds of thousands wake up to sheer devastation.
All right, so that's what you hear what I'm saying. There have been sounds. Some of the sounds are pretty creepy sounding. It's
that was some crazy shit.
Like out of. I really feel like the one where it's like a winter. It looks like a winter landscape and it's snowing and stuff, and it's like. But it's not the wind blowing. It's like a scary, like almost background soundtrack or something. It reminds me of The Thing. If you've ever seen The Thing, it reminds me of The Thing. I've ever played The Thing video game. I haven't actually seen The Thing, but I played The Thing video game, and that's a little more immersive. Or you can kind of like entrench yourself in it or put yourself into it. It reminds me of The Thing, where it's just kind of creepy and scary, and there's there's something getting ready to happen. Some sort of snow beast or some shit is getting ready to attack you and rip your throat out with its teeth. I don't know.
I would not want to be there. I would not want to hear that. That would freak me out.
I don't know if we've even touched on it yet.
That would totally freak me out.
Brian, I don't know if we've even began to touch on it yet, or began to even tell people what we're getting to with this. But
no, we haven't.
There's one thing. I'm going to first give everybody, we're going to talk about the Singularity and Ray Kurzweil, because the Singularity is very important when it comes to simulation theory. A lot of people don't know that they tie into each other, and they definitely do tie into each other.
And Ray Kurzweil is certain that him and the elites are going to merge with machines and live forever. He's certain of it. That's the next step in our evolution. So,
all right. See, this is not the singularity theory that I'm talking about. This is a different singularity theory, which these are natural sciences, technology. All right, come on, Ray Kurzweil's singularity theory. Blah, 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 blah. All right, Kurzweil in 2045 when humans and machines get together. Okay, here we go.
He named the year.
What is techtarget.com? Yes, by 2045 is when Moore's Law, if you know about Moore's Law, is that every year technology advances and it almost doubles. I think it actually more than doubles in its ability, in its capacity. The microprocessor is able to do double the work that it was. We're able to create microprocessors that are able to do double the work each year. Okay, so that's hence why we've gone from PlayStation 1 to Xbox One in the past 10, 15 years, and it's been like, oh my God, the difference between the two side by side is like breathtaking, you know? And we've gone from little piece of crap Nokia and Motorola phones that didn't even have color screens to touchscreen phones.
No, they were green or they were like a brownish.
I'm talking about real color screens, all right? We've gone from that to our touchscreen phones that can basically do almost anything, and there's basically literally 30 tools packaged into that one touchscreen phone, whereas 15 years ago, at least 25 of those 30 tools weren't on your phone. You had to have a separate tool for that, you know what I'm saying?
True.
Like a compass, a GPS, or a GPS system. Even 15 years ago, we wouldn't have dreamed that GPSs would be on our phones within the next few years. And
if you think about it,
and we wouldn't have dreamed that it would be free.
If you think about it, I'm gonna throw this out there because I like to make people think and question things. If you think about it, back in the 1920s, George Orwell couldn't have predicted that we would pay for and want to carry around our Big Brother spy devices with us everywhere we go.
Yeah, and when you're awake and you understand that, and especially now, even after the NSA, it's been released that the NSA is spying on all of us, basically, people still don't understand the gravity of it, I guess you could say. I don't even know where I was going with it. I started thinking
There's people that don't even know who the hell George Orwell is, and they never heard of 1984.
Well, I don't know. It's crazy, all the technology and stuff that we got. Yeah, I do got to open a window. It's getting hot in here.
It really is.
All right, first I'm going to give you, I got you, Ryan, don't worry about it. The Singularity, all right? I want to talk about the Singularity, and Ray Kurzweil is a big proponent of the Singularity. I believe Ray Kurzweil has not come up with the whole idea and concept of the Singularity.
I think he's probably one of its biggest proponents.
I would say he's one of the founders. He's not,
Bill Gates is very vocal
He's not
about
one of the biggest proponents, okay? He's one of the first to really be a mainstream voice.
True.
Of that. I think that's what made Ray Kurzweil famous, is the Singularity, his view on the Singularity. And he says by 2045 we will merge, man and machine.
Well, other people share that view. Bill Gates has said similar things.
A lot of people share that view. That is
David Rockefeller.
That's not a fringe subject. Now, whereas
and you know the technology exists for life extension. Let me ask you this: how is George Soros still alive?
The technology,
how is Dick Cheney still
the technology
up and
exists.
And who the hell is calling?
I know exactly who it is, and I don't know we're filming the show, so I can't really do much about that.
Call-ins, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no call-ins. Ray Kurzweil is basically, he's not the father. I guess you could call him the father of it, but he's not the creator.
Maybe like the Godfather.
I wouldn't call him the creator of Singularity, but he's definitely the godfather of the Singularity proposition here, and it's much more accepted in the science community. The Singularity, there's a lot of there's of course, like with everything, there's two sides of every story, there's two perspectives, but that's a little more accepted than simulation theory. But basically, how the Singularity and simulation theory tie into each other is this: that what the Singularity says is that and what Ray Kurzweil says about Singularity is that by 2045 we merge with machine. Man and machine merge and are no longer distinguishable from each other. Okay? Now, when that happens, who's to say that all of the information, when we're to that point, that all of the previous information of humanity and all of that, of humanity and humanity's experiences and everything that has to do with humanity, who's to say all of that isn't able to be logged? Everything from history isn't able to be logged and turned into a simulation. Whereas you don't have to.
We're theorizing in a bubble here. It could.
Well, anything's possible when you start thinking like that. Really, anything is possible. But basically, you get to a point once man and machine merge where it's like, how do we know? Once man and machine merge, you start to realize what is really reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really, you start to question, because consciousness, that's the main thing. It's not like man and how does technology merge with a human heart or with the human brain and this and that. It's more, and that's what Singularity is human consciousness merging with computers. Yes. And human consciousness is what creates our world. One, from imagination and creativity, but also two, from our experiential view of this world, our us experiencing the world, seeing the world, interacting with the world. That is what creates the world. You know what I'm saying? At least that's what creates the world for us. is our perception of it. So when our perception of it is integrated with computers, what happens to reality then? Especially, like, is reality... One, we could create a simulation. Once we get to that point, the idea is that we have enough knowledge of humanity, of the world, of Earth, that we can create a simulation that is indistinguishable. We can basically recreate that consciousness in a computer simulation, where that consciousness doesn't even know it's in a simulation. Which people, once you get to that realization, you're like, well, who's to say that didn't already happen? Who's to say that we're not a simulation that was started up? And 2045 was actually...
back not long after Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Jim Carrey was in a movie called The Truman Show.
Yes.
From birth, he was... Basically, they were in a giant dome that was several miles wide, and everything about it was made... he was in basically a simulated world. The people were real, but he didn't know that everything about his life was fake. It was controlled for a reality TV show.
I watched that show. I watched that movie probably about once a year just to kind of... It's going to mess people up when I say just to kind of bring me back to reality.
Yeah.
But because it would pull you away from reality. But... And there's many times, especially when I was younger, where I watched that movie and I was convinced for a good couple days afterwards, like... This world is like, okay, how come I haven't left the East Coast? All right? And that's part of the reason why I want to explore and see the world, and I want to go to Colorado, I want to California.
That you can?
And to prove that those places exist. For until I'm there, those places don't exist. Okay, I can watch as many videos as I want.
I know this guy Jamal that used to live in Colorado. Colorado exists.
Jamal can tell me everybody can tell me. But for all I know, you're an actor. Every person watching this video is an actor. Actually, this video, this is like what people like. They love that I did this.
Bro, I figured it out.
And then like you get little nudges from the universe, like pushing you in one direction or this direction or that. And it's like, what if those nudges aren't from the universe? They're from like actors and this and that. But when you really start to step back from the Truman Show and outside of the, oh my God, is everybody around me an actor? You start to realize if this is all simulation.
When Nick first told me that we were doing simulation theory today, my first thought is, when I started really looking into it, started thinking about that. Could we be living in something like the Truman Show? That's how I approach this.
Yeah, but the problem is you have to be careful.
On the surface, when you come to me with simulation theory, this is not my area of expertise here. So I'm thinking, like, what the hell is this? Come on, man, you kidding me? But then I thought back to the Truman Show. Like, okay, well, we could let's just use baby steps. And it piqued my interest, so...
You have to be careful. Real quick, when it comes to the Truman Show, you have to be careful, because I know there's other people out there that have watched the Truman Show and have come to almost the same conclusion that I have. And it's not like you stick to the conclusion, because you have to ignore it. You have to forget it, or else you will literally wind up in a loony bin, banging your head up against a padded wall, like... I don't even know what's going on anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, you will lose your grip with reality if you really, truly start to believe that. Maybe not. Maybe some people are smart enough or stable enough that they could do it. I can't. I'm not that type of person that can really, truly convince myself that... Because what's the difference between that and schizophrenia, right? But I'm not one of those people that can really convince myself that everybody around me is acting. Every single person around me is actually acting out against me. And part of my belief in that, and believing that for even a day or two at a time, has kind of like skewed my view of reality.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying not the people around you aren't acting. They're in the same dome you are, and they don't know any more than you do.
I understand what you're saying, but then that's your variables.
All, like,
but
the whole Earth.
Oh yeah, it is a giant dome. There's many people who believe that we haven't even left the stratosphere. We haven't even left the atmosphere of Earth yet. We haven't even gotten to that point. Everything that you see out there that actually shows us leaving the stratosphere of the Earth or the atmosphere of the Earth is actually all just conspiracy stuff. If you look into the moon landing as a hoax and as a fake stuff,
I've looked a lot into that.
I'm not 100% on that, but I'm 98% sure we landed on the moon.
It's not our topic of the day. I do believe we landed on the moon, and I believe that the reason a lot of that footage and photos have disappeared is because there was something discovered there that we're not allowed to know about.
There's some compelling stuff
and that's a topic for another episode.
There's some compelling stuff in there, and then on another episode we'll touch on that, the moon landings. See, that's the kind of stuff, and it's not conspiracy stuff. It's more questioning stuff. You know what I'm saying? Questioning things that a lot of people have already just like the book has been closed on, and like the book should have never been closed on. You know what I'm saying? Like the moon landing hoax thing. The book doesn't need to be closed on that. Okay,
a mutual friend of ours earlier today brought up a point to me of, well, let's say you guys are right about something. Let's say you look into the JFK assassination and you find the smoking gun. You find that one piece of evidence that links it all together. Then what?
That one piece of evidence, exactly. I've come across that. I've had that exact same thought.
What do you mean? Then
things.
what? Then what? Then I know because I thirst for knowledge.
Then you know, no. But listen. What they were saying, and maybe this isn't what they were saying, but I've had that same thought along this line, right? When you come across, you make that connection, okay? You put that connection out there. Once you've realized that connection, you put that connection out there, and you start to tell through Facebook, through YouTube, whatever it is, you start to tell the world about that connection. Unless you're like Mr. Marketing and you know how to really push that connection and you really know how to get people behind that and really like get them to believe that that connection is true, that connection is out there, but it's just going to be another piece of there's other people who have made other connections, whether or not those connections are true or false. You're just another one of those things, another one of those connections that have been made. So in that on that same vein or that same line of thought, right, I come to realize that there's a lot of things out there that the connection has already been made. You got to look for those connections. Yeah, there's a lot of BS. There's a lot of bullshit that you got to wade through. But sometimes you wade through 100 pieces of bullshit, and then you find that one piece of non-bullshit where somebody made that connection, and it just got lumped in with all the other pieces of bullshit because it's a little bit crazy or it's a little bit like out there. But with knowing that, looking into it and knowing as much as you know, you come across that connection, and you're like, holy shit, that's what it is. Holy shit, it was right in front of me the whole time. Like, this person made the connection. They just didn't know how to put the information out there. So, like, with a lot of things, the answers are already out there. Yes. We just have to wade through the answers that people have put out there and find out what the truth is and what's bullshit. Because a lot of it is bullshit. But there is some truth, and it just gets lumped in with it being bullshit.
To quote the X-Files, the truth is out there.
The truth is out there. I love the X-Files movies.
I love that X-Files.
All right,
I miss that show so much. I grew up on the X-Files.
All right, so I'm gonna give us a little thing on the Singularity. But one thing I wanted to touch on real quick was, and there's two people that you got to look up. There's a Thomas Campbell and a James Gates. I'll look them up. Actually, if you can, Brian, write them down so we can look them up in a minute. Thomas Campbell and James Gates. But along the lines of Idiocracy, okay? And I know we love Idiocracy here.
Greatest movie.
The favorite movie of the favorite movie of the podcast for open minds everywhere. Okay. Now,
tongue twister.
Along the lines of Idiocracy.
George is in Florida, dumbass.
If you look at the last 100 years of human evolution or human existence, okay? And this is it's a shitty study as far as the mass of humanity or the overall humanity. It's not a good study to really judge humanity. But if there's a study out there that says that over the past 100 years, the average IQ of, it might be of the average American or of the average human being, has gone down 10 points.
Oh, that's proven to be from the fluoride in the water. Fluoride lowers your IQ.
Okay. On that note, and with Idiocracy in mind, is there any way that if this is all simulation, the simulation started from... We got to a really stupid point. We got to an Idiocracy point, but there was actually still a small group of intelligent people left... like all alone, had to get away from all the idiots, but all alone, and they were smart enough, and technology advanced for them. They were able to continue to advance technology, maybe a lot slower because there were so many idiots and not as many people to advance the cause. But they advanced technology to the point. It might take 500 years, but they advanced technology to the point where they're able to create a simulation. Would they not go back and start from the point where IQ started to go down and start the simulation from then there, and not try and fix it, but watch what happened? You know, and we're just in that simulation where the simulation's just running, like, you know what I'm saying? And we were actual people that existed 500 years ago and weren't part of a simulation. We're real people, but now we're back in the simulation thinking that we're the old person, that we're the person that existed 500 years ago, when in all reality we're just a simulation. Even though our consciousness could be tied to that simulation, depending on how the real world works, or real reality is, not this matrix that we're in. You know what I'm saying? Because for all we know, real reality is we look nothing like real reality, or maybe aliens. I've always thought about that. Once I came across simulation theory and singularity, and I've always been interested in UFOs. Is what if aliens are us 500 years in the future? Those intelligent ones 500 years in the future, and they found a way, just like how Morpheus and Trinity found a way to plug in. They found a way to plug into the simulation and watch us, and literally literally immerse themselves into our simulation. But since they don't have to follow the rules of our simulation, of the rules of this reality, they can dart around the sky up and down faster than the speed of light. Who cares? They can abduct you, to wipe your memory. You're just a computer program. You know what I'm saying? All they got. If you know what a trainer is, have you ever played PC games, PC video games?
Couple.
There's something for PC video games, and it's kind of like the Game Genie from back in the day, where you run this trainer, you turn on this trainer, and you select certain, like unlimited money, certain things like that, unlimited lives, shit like that, and then you run the game. And the trainer allows you, once you run the game and you start it up, you get unlimited money, unlimited lives, all that kind of stuff. It's like basically a hack into the thing, a hack into the game. Well, think about a trainer that the aliens are running before they enter into ours. So they have the ability to dart around. They have the ability to, at the snap of their finger, wipe the memory of anybody that they've interacted with or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And then also think about the aliens, and this is really going off the deep end, but it's crazy. Think about the aliens that have impregnated human beings and made hybrids of the two. Is that a hybrid is that literally making simulation and computer code into something real? If you're able to impregnate a female alien with a simulated character's sperm and create an actual living thing inside of that female, and then bring her back into reality, or into real reality outside of the simulation, but she still has that half simulated baby in her, half simulated, half alien baby in her, and come back, and she's actually able to give birth to that and bring life out of that simulation. Like, you could go really far down the rabbit hole on this shit, and it could really blow your mind, Brian. All right? So, but think about that with Idiocracy, how we could have been this, literally the whole simulation, our whole reality, our whole existence could have started 100 years ago in 2013. Now think about, or not 2013, 1913. Think about when all of a sudden our IQ started to go down. Right around 1913 when, what came into power? The Federal Reserve. Yeah. And the United States behemoth and military...
industrial complex.
Military-industrial complex, but military monster, the little baby, it was just a little baby at the time, but that's where it started. It was given birth to right around then. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we can go back to the United States being a British colony, this and that, but shit has really gone downhill since the Federal Reserve came into existence. And not just for this country, around the world. I want to know, was the World Bank around in 1913, and was IMF around in 1913? Because the Federal Reserve either took their blueprint and put it to work in the United States, or IMF and the World Bank took the United States as the Federal Reserve's blueprint and put it to work around the world. You know? All right, let me open the window. Say something, Brian.
I'm looking right now to find out when the IMF World Bank was founded.
Okay, you can do that.
I am. Let's see. Why not IMF.org? That's a good place to start.
No, go to Wikipedia. You're going to waste way too much time going to IMF.org. It's a bank website. It's not just right on the front when it was.
No, but I figured there'd be about us. Yeah. 100 countries. Formation of the IMF World Bank was December 27th, 1945.
1945. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And the World Bank, it had to have been either shortly before that or shortly after. Okay, Brian.
And there's 188 out of the 192 UN countries are
okay, so what did we say? We said Thomas Campbell, right? Did I tell you Thomas Campbell, James Gates, and those are your scientists. Those are your people with degrees in science and astrophysics and shit like that, okay? Those are your people that you want to go to for the really hardcore scientific information. Now, if you want to hear a little more how we're talking about it, okay? You want to look into Terrence McKenna. Joe Rogan talks about it. Neil deGrasse Tyson has talked about it. Robert Anton Wilson, I don't know who that is. I'm thinking of Anton Levin, the
oh, that was Church
guy.
of Satan.
Yeah,
I don't think it was him.
But there's a few other people that that are out there that do talk about that. Alan Watts, he doesn't talk about simulation theory, but if you listen to a lot of what Alan Watts talks about, he understands that none of this is real. You know what I'm saying? That reality is a game. Okay, and if you think reality is a game, well, what is a simulation? Kind of a game.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then even a simulation that you can't interact with is still kind of a game. But in a simulation you can interact with is a game. The Sims is a game. Grand Theft Auto is a game. Okay? All right. So we're going to listen to this real quick. It's a 3-minute or 4-minute clip by Joe Rogan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Terrence McKenna, and Robert Anton Wilson. I know there's a couple other people I wanted to bring up. Look into Duncan Trussell. Duncan Trussell talks about this a lot. Shout out to Duncan Trussell Family Hour. I want to come on your show. I think you're awesome. You're the fucking man, dude. Yeah. All right. So we're going to listen to this real quick. This is there's a lot of good videos about this, but this is a nice, quick, concise one that should be all of them touching on it. So bear with us. I'm going to play it so that me and Brian can hear it as well. So just bear with us for a second. Thank you very much.
You're saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers.
That is correct. So...
Wait. I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos.
Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
Computer code.
Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
It's not just sort of resembles computer code, you're saying it is computer code.
What we really are is the community of mind knitted together by codes and symbols, intuitions, aspirations, histories, hopes, the invisible world of the human experience is far more real to us than the visible world, which is little more than a kind of screen or stage upon which we move.
Exactly sure with this fuzzy line between consciousness and unconsciousness and sleeping and dreaming, and it's all going on in one cycle, but we're not exactly sure what part of it we're playing all the time. We have to hit on things to be sure. I mean, how many times have you had dreams where it's a dream? It's a dream. How do you not know that knocking on things isn't a fucking dream? The whole idea that you can dream, the idea that you can imagine, the idea that there's some mystical part of your brain that sees things that aren't really there and puts them into position and moves them around and gives you a little fucking cartoon. What the fuck is that?
Everything that gets into your brain affects your reality tunnel, your worldview, or your belief system, which I abbreviate BS. The universe consists of non-simultaneously apprehended events, which means any belief system or reality tunnel you've got right now is going to have to be revised and updated as you continue to apprehend new events later in time, not simultaneously. This is the natural functioning of the human brain. It's the way children's brains perform before they're wrecked by the school system. It's the way the minds of all great scientists and artists work. But once you have a belief system, everything that comes in, it either gets ignored if it doesn't fit the belief system, or it gets distorted enough so that it can fit into the belief system. You got to be continually revising your map of the world, or you'll lose more and more contact with reality.
Shit's crazy, Brian.
It
Shit's
is.
crazy.
It really is.
On that, and what I was saying while the video was playing was, how do you know that this is not a dream? Have you ever been in a dream where you're so sure, you're so positive while you're in that dream that that is reality, that you are living reality? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, even though some things may be missing. If you ever seen Mr. Nobody, it'll blow your mind how like he goes into this house. He's living in it, what he thinks is his life, and there's like little quirks here and there that make him think that maybe he's not living in reality, or maybe it's a dream or something, right? Then all of a sudden he goes into like this house, and he's in the middle of like a suburbs or whatever. He goes into one of the houses, and he walks into the house, and it's a set, it's a stage, it's fake. It's like on a Hollywood set, how the houses are just the fronts of the houses that are made. He walks in and it's all plywood on the other side. And on the other side is the beach and the ocean. But there's there's helicopters picking up chunks of the ocean, picking up like blocks of the ocean. And it's like, but he still can't see. He can't understand that he's not in reality. He can't understand. That's his reality. He's in reality. You know what I'm saying? I'm experiencing this. I'm conscious. Like, This is reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many dreams have you had where there's so many things? You go from one room and one situation, and you literally walk 3 feet, and you're in a different room that's fucking miles away and in a completely different situation. But you don't even put that together. You still think you're in reality. You still think you're awake, or you still think you're consciously living life when you're not. You're dreaming. Or you ever have a dream where you're so sure it's real, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That wasn't real? No! Like, I've had dreams where I find money. I used to have these dreams where I'd go into Kmart and Delran, even though it's gone. I'd go into Kmart and Delran, and on the shelves, hanging from the shelves, kind of how like...
it's a Target now.
how prepaid debit cards and phone cards hang off the shelf. There was money hanging on the shelves like that. And I would just go up and be like, are you kidding me? And I would start grabbing all this money. And all of a sudden, I would always wake up after that dream, or like in the middle of it, after grabbing all the money and getting ready to walk out, I would wake up and be like, no, it wasn't real. Oh, all that free money, no. So, I don't know, Brian. There's that. But there's no real good way.
See, that's a dream that I would love to become reality.
There's no good way. And then, like, I think about when people say, like, and I've said this to people, how do you know that this is not all a dream? How do you know that this is not all my dream and you're just a part of my dream? Well, I'm conscious, and I'm experiencing myself. So how can I be a part of your dream if I'm conscious? If I was a part of your dream, I wouldn't even really have a conscious, and I wouldn't be, well, wouldn't you have to believe for that dream to be some sort of reality? And think about characters that have been in your actual real dreams. Do you think those characters are non-existent and are only a part of your brain, or do you think those characters believe that they're real in your dream? Do you think they believe that they're do you believe that they're conscious in your dream? You know,
I never really thought about it,
because if this is just my dream, well, you can argue back and say, well, it's not just a dream because I'm conscious. I wouldn't be conscious in your dream. I would just be like kind of a robot on.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
but can't consciousness be? If this is all simulation, can't consciousness be programmed into you?
If it's a simulation, yes.
All right. So we just listened to that.
That's a big if.
We're going to touch on
like
Singularity.
Here's a question on an FAQ on simulationargument.com. What happens to the simulation argument if the universe is infinite?
Well, that's what it says. That's what do you call it? Simulation argument does say. And what is infiniteness? What is infinity?
If we're a simulation,
tell me what
there
is
has
infinity.
To be an end to it, right?
No, there does not. You think of that there needs to be barriers, but think. It's kind of hard to explain. Okay,
How do you run a simulation with no boundaries, no borders, no?
Because think about this, right? And it's kind of hard to explain, like how I'm seeing it in my head right now, and I could be wrong, but think about it like this: you have, and the only boundaries are the limits to the capacity of the computer. Okay, the limits to the hard drive of the computer. Okay, and imagine if that computer has literally, they've figured out a way, and we don't know if this is possible or not, but has literally figured out a way to have unlimited storage on that computer. So if there's unlimited storage, and you're like, well, there can't be anything,
Well,
there's no such thing. Limits are a part of our reality.
You know what? Yeah, there is. The cloud.
Limitations.
Cloud storage.
Limitations are a part of our reality. Maybe that's not an actual limitation in the reality that we're stored. The simulation is actually inside of. Maybe that's not an actual limitation. So a limitation is something that we think of. That's kind of like part of us because it's intrinsic in. It's built into the programming. You know. There has to be an end. There's a beginning and an end to everything. There's a limit to everything. There's laws that have to be followed.
Okay,
like
explain to me time.
What do you mean?
As it relates to your theory on simulation.
Time and simulation theory are can be tied into each other. We could spend a whole nother show. Let me put it that way. We could spend a whole nother show on time.
Because one of the videos that I watched earlier today was about time.
Well, I sent you that on purpose.
It's the video you sent me.
I sent you that on purpose.
And a lot of the stuff it was saying made me think of Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. Well, how he said time is relative and he could experience the past, present, and future simultaneously and perceive time differently.
And we're going to touch on this. This is 3 and N's going to start moving into a little bit more, I don't want to say fringe topics, but moving into some more crazier topics. There's something out there, and we'll spend a whole nother show on this. It's crazy. This and historical doppelgangers is time slips. There have been people who have literally experienced slipping through time, whereas they're experiencing present moment like me and you, and out of nowhere they blink and they're 100 years in the past. Same spot, but 100 years in the past. All right? And I know there's been people that have experienced a time slip of same spot 100 years in the future. There's a movie coming out by Disney. I hate Disney, but you know what? This movie looks awesome. I think it's called World of Tomorrow, like their exhibit at Disney.
I really thought you were about to say Star Wars Episode 7.
No, I'm talking about World of Tomorrow, where this chick finds a button, and every time she picks up this button and touches this button, she is transported 100 years in the future, the exact same spot. But the thing is, she is experiencing... she's like, there's a shot of her driving in a car, and all of a sudden, like driving in a car in present moment, and she grabs the button and picks up the button, and there she is, 100 years in the future, riding along through a cornfield with nothing under her, just like floating along, because the car is still moving her. Because time is all, like when I saw that, I was like, I gotta see this freaking movie, because time is all happening at the exact same time. Like, there is no such thing as time. There's only the present moment. But there's no such thing as time. The past is only the present moment that has come before us. Okay? But it was only the present moment. You can't escape that it was a present moment. The future is only a present moment yet to come. But it's still a present moment. Past and future, but also what I believe is that they all kind of sit on top of each other. You know? That all time sits on top of each other. Location is like a book, and time is like the pages. You know, the pages just keep on turning, but the book stays the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, the location stays where it is, and you can keep on flipping through those pages. And the way that we're programmed to experience it is we have to go one by one through those pages. You know what I'm saying? Like a choose-your-own-adventure. Okay. Whereas, in all reality, if you take a choose-your-own-adventure book and throw it down on the floor, you're looking at that whole thing. It's not... Each individual page is its own separate thing, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one solid thing. Like, time is one solid thing, you know? I don't know. Alright, so we're going to touch on the singularity real quick. And then, I'm going to read us a list, and then we're going to wrap it up, okay? Because this is enough to really jack people's heads up.
Yeah,
Alright.
There's so much out there on it. It's just...
Yeah, there is.
I mean... I think before you get into this, aside from the Truman Show and Mr. Nobody, The Matrix, obviously.
Yeah,
there's really not that much else.
Well, philosophy in the Matrix.
I guess kind of a bit Quantum Leap.
And that's why I like
the Dr. Manhattan character in
Doctor Who. If you think about Doctor Who is like, wow, he can...
A Quantum Leap, if you remember that show.
Oh, yeah, Quantum Leap.
Actually, did you ever see Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Did not see Time Cop. I know what movie you're talking about.
That's more they have to go to a thing to travel.
Well, there's also, what was it called? With Emilio Estevez. Oh, crap, what was the name of the movie? It was like he goes into the future. He gets into a car accident, like present day, and it's the 80s or whatever. But he gets into a car accident present day and gets transported to the future. Right before he's about to crash in the car accident, the future grabs him and pulls him into the future because they need him for something. What the frick is that movie?
With Emilio Estevez? I was about to look it up myself. I have no...
Emilio Estevez time travel. Free Jack.
Free Jack.
I remember watching that movie, and it was supposed to be, I think, 2015.
With Emilio Estevez, Mick Jagger, Rene Russo, and Anthony Hopkins. That's a pretty stellar cast.
And when did they jump to? In the year 2009, the super wealthy gain immortality by hiring so-called bonejackers, i.e. mercenaries who use time travel technology to snatch people from the past just prior to their deaths. All right, hold on. But listen to this. And when you think about all this and reality being a simulation and like what you were just talking about is immortality and how the world elite are pushing, and Singularity is tied to immortality, and how the world elite are pushing for immortality and believe in the Singularity, right? Is in the year 2009, the super wealthy gain immortality by hiring so-called bonejackers. All right, you're talking about how is George Soros alive? I say how's Dick Cheney still alive? Okay, right?
Yeah.
What if they're going back and literally abducting themselves from the past? If all time stays the same, like there's the grandfather paradox where, okay, yeah, if he fucking abducts himself from the past, then he wouldn't exist now, but what if that's not the truth? What if that's not actually how time travel works and you can abduct yourself from the past because it's all now? You know what I'm saying? You abduct yourself from the past, then it's like, it really doesn't matter. Now still exists. Now is now is always prevalent. Future is lower and past is lower. Now is always prevalent. You know?
True.
I don't know. Some crazy shit. But what if that's actually possible, that they have discovered time travel? Because you hear about people just go missing, and I often like to think of like alien abductions, like when somebody goes missing and they're never found, no trace of them whatsoever, right? Yeah, they could have been murdered and buried somewhere out in the woods, but they also could have been abducted by aliens, or maybe they were picked up by time travelers, and they were literally like it was on record that they were getting ready to die. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe that's part of the simulation. Maybe in simulation theory, you can. If right before somebody dies, you have the ability to go in and pull them out of it. Or maybe that's what is happening to people like Neo in the Matrix. People who disappear and there's no trace of them whatsoever, they're like Neo. They've been pulled out the Matrix and shown that all this is fake.
Look up a movie called Millennium. I believe it might have been from the 80s or very early 90s.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I've never actually seen it, but this is crazy. I used to like the movie Weekend at Bernie's. We had it on VHS tape, and this was one of the coming attractions. That's it. 1989.
Two jetliners collide, and Will Smith is put in charge of investigating the accident, but something isn't adding up about the crash from the strange comments. Yeah, I've seen this one where they abduct.
Like there's the watch that's moving backwards.
They save all the people, but it's people from the future are saving. They're like, basically their mission is to go back and disasters and stuff that happened in the past, they go back and save all the people. They let the disaster still happen, but right before the disaster happens, they go back and save all of the people. But I don't think I think there's a more of a sinister plot to it, where they're not saving the people for a good thing. It's like humans or humans from our age are no longer around, and they're abducting all those people to harvest stuff from their bodies, or like they've found out they need them to stay immortal. I don't know what the fuck it is. I've seen that movie. I have that movie, actually. It is a pretty crazy movie. All right, Brian, we're running out of time here. The time is withering away like the little sand in the thing. All right, so I'm going to touch on the Singularity, and then I have 10 reasons life may be a computer simulation from listverse.com. Really good stuff here. So just hang with us. Your mind is getting ready to be blown away.
I dropped my pen. There it is.
All right. The Singularity, Brian, is the hypothetical future creation. The Singularity is the hypothetical future creation of superintelligent machines. Superintelligence is defined as a technologically created cognitive capacity far beyond that possible for humans. Okay? Should the Singularity occur, technology will advance beyond our ability to foresee or control its outcomes, and the world will be transformed beyond recognition by the application of superintelligence to humans and or human problems, including poverty, disease, and mortality. So on that note, the Singularity will be a good thing, because the Singularity, if we get to that point, or if we make it there, the Singularity will expose government corruption. If the United States is a corporation, the the United States is a corporation and doing things illegally and lying to people,
there's no way they'll be able to
there's
hide
nothing to stop the machines from putting that information out there.
Exactly.
And poverty. There's nothing to stop the machines from literally
finding a way to
either feed these people or finding a way to make every single person aware that there's other people. Every time you eat, you're aware that there's other people across the world that aren't able to eat today, you know, and that maybe you should do something to help them, you know, or maybe the machines are going to expose everything.
Yes.
And that's the scary part about Singularity. So you got some people pushing for the Singularity, but the Singularity, as far as super intelligence is concerned, and super intelligence in computers, is somewhat available right now, but is not being fully utilized, I believe, for that reason. Think of Eagle Eye. If you've ever seen the movie Eagle Eye, you're like, oh, okay, so if there is super intelligence, they might expose, or they might see war crimes going on and say, well, that's against what all of them agreed, and then they themselves agreed that they weren't going to do through the Geneva Conventions, so they need to be removed from power. The government needs to be rearranged.
Well, have you seen Terminator Salvation?
And it's also, but they won't have emotion. But they don't have emotion. I think that's the problem with Singularity now, is they don't have emotion. So when it comes down to it, if the super intelligent machine needs to steal money through credit card systems and banking systems, like digitally steal money to give it to poor people.
When someone says to me, human merging with machine, I don't just think about the consciousness aspect. I'm thinking of a cyborg.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Borg.
Oh, yeah, the Borg. But what that takes me to is Skynet. The Terminator.
See, I think we're very close to that Singularity, but that's not the Singularity. Superintelligence has to come with it.
True.
And once superintelligence is added in with that,
yeah, they were intelligent because Skynet realized that the humans
I'm talking about right now. That is available. Right now, there are eyes. There's prosthetic eyes you can get that can see if you're blind. All right, if you're missing your arm was blown off by an IED in Iraq.
No, I don't mean
you can get a new arm that's actually conscious and connected to your brain.
Oh, I know that. I don't mean the Terminator robot. I mean Skynet, the computer, which determined that, oh crap, humans are a threat to my existence. I need to wipe them out.
Yep. Which, that's a lot of people, when you look up Eagle Eye and the philosophy behind Eagle Eye, a lot of people do bring up Skynet. They say, is Skynet, what is the possibility of Skynet?
Well, I think Eagle Eye was Skynet revision.
That's basically kind of what Singularity is. Singularity, I think that's honestly where they may have gotten the idea for Skynet from, is the Singularity, and where once super intelligent computers come around, how soon do they become conscious? You know, basically where is the barrier to consciousness?
What I'm wondering with the Singularity,
because we don't know where consciousness comes from now. We don't know what is the producer of consciousness at the moment. So what happens when, as far as we know, it's intelligence? So what happens when it gets to the point of intelligence where it has consciousness enough to actually start affecting change instead of just commenting on it? Which right now you can have machines that analyze everything and comment on them.
Yes.
But past that, I think they can do stuff, but they've been blocked because it's like we're not sure what's going to be said and how far it's going to take it. Technology can be scary. You know, a small computer program can harvest code or harvest energy from so many other sources. A small computer program with its own intelligence, its own drive, nothing telling it, programming it what it has to do. It's only been programmed what it's able to do, but it's able to do so many things because it's been given an artificial consciousness or an artificial intelligence. What's to stop that from gathering energy and gathering a structure for itself to become something much bigger from the connected internet? What's to stop it from gathering data? You know what I'm saying? Gathering as much data as it wants. What's it to stop it from creating 1 million email accounts and emailing 1 million people with each one of those 1 million email accounts? What's it to stop it from creating viruses that open up on people's computers? You go to a normal, simple, you go to CNN.com and a virus comes up explaining to you that the United States is a corporation and it all needs to be, everything needs to be reorganized, and that this program is going to do it. And this program is not a human being, so it's not going to be stopped. It's not going to be shut down because it's now in the cloud. Unless you're going to shut down all communications across the United States and the world, then this is not going to be stopped. It gets really scary, but that's kind of Skynet, dude. That's kind of what Skynet did.
Exactly.
It's really scary. All right, let me get through this because we literally are now over time, and I have two more things to read. So, ready? All right. Should the singularity occur, technology will advance beyond our ability to foresee or control its outcomes, and the world will be transformed beyond recognition by the application of superintelligence to humans and/or human problems, including poverty, disease, and mortality. All right, so that's what we were just talking about. Revolutions in genetics, nanotechnology, and robotics in the first half of the 21st century are expected to lay the foundation for the singularity. According to the singularity theory, superintelligence will be developed by self-directed computers and will increase exponentially rather than incrementally. Lev Grossman explains the prospective exponential gains in capacity enabled by superintelligence machines in an article in Time magazine. The rate of development would also continue to increase because they would take over their own development from their slower-thinking human creators. Imagine a computer scientist that was itself a superintelligent computer. It would work incredibly quickly. It could draw on huge amounts of data effortlessly. It wouldn't even take breaks to play Farmville. Think about it. Proposed mechanisms for adding superintelligence to humans include brain-computer interfaces, biological alteration of the brain, artificial intelligence brain implants, and genetic engineering. Post-singularity, humanity and the world would be quite different. A human could potentially scan his consciousness into a computer and live eternally in virtual reality or as a sentient robot. So that's kind of where I was trying to touch on earlier, and I wasn't quite there. No, not the Borg. Listen to this. All right. Your consciousness, you can basically, once we get to that point, you will be able to download your consciousness into a computer, right?
Okay.
Once you've downloaded your consciousness into a computer, from that point forward, how hard is it to take that consciousness, put it on a flash drive, and plug it into a simulation and upload that consciousness into that simulation and like Windows starting up, like that noise you fucking hate to hear on the laptop.
Like the emotion chip for data.
Yeah, it's craziness. But that's what I was trying to say is like basically once we get to that point, who's to say 500 years, if we're that close to that, who's to say 100 years, 200 years in the future, a simulation hasn't been created where all of those consciousnesses that have been downloaded, that are just sitting by themselves and have been downloaded into a computer, but like it sucks to try and interact with the world through a video camera and microphones and all that instead of having ears and eyes and all of that. So it's like, why don't we create a simulation of everybody, or create a simulation of the world that we all used to live in a couple hundred years ago, create that simulation, and then any consciousness that's on a computer instead of a human body, any consciousness that wants to live again, or wants to live in a real world again, or at least experience a life again with eyes and ear and this and that. Because if you knew you were a computer, like if you at all times knew you were a computer, exactly how much fun is that really going to be? You're still going to know you're going to have to go back to that. You know, whereas if you were able to kind of give yourself amnesia and just live a 50-year life or 60-year life in this, because you're living eternally. It doesn't matter. You're living for another 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 years as long as the computer's up and running, which it looks like it's going to for a long time, right? If you're living for another 100,000 years, what's it a big deal to give yourself amnesia for 50 or 60 years and experience consciousness
what you just said,
in
that
the simulation?
Supports the theory of reincarnation very well.
Yeah.
That explains why a lot of people feel like they had past lives and they can remember details of their lives. It's part of the program.
That backs up what I say, as I believe when you die.
Backed up in the cloud.
I believe when you die, every life that you've lived is opened up to you. All of those experiences, like your last life that you lived, is your newest and easiest to remember, and is added on top of everything else. But everything is opened up to you. When you die, all of the lives that you had. When you're a caterpillar climbing on a tree in Africa, you remember that. When you were a cat getting... when you were alley cat in the 1920s in Brooklyn, you remember that. When you were a feminist protester in the 1930s or the 40s, you remember that. When you were a hippie in the 1970s, you remember that. And since time doesn't actually exist, you could actually be me. Me and you could be the same freaking person. And when you know about soulmates, and it's like, okay, there's soulmates out there, people who truly do believe, and there's a lot of people who bring up soulmates and think it's bullshit and this and that, but there are actual people whose soul is connected on a whole nother level. You know, their soul is almost like it's. Sometimes you'll see these people and you're like, are they the same person? Or twins. You'll see twins who they're like almost the exact same person. Yeah. They act exactly the same. There's twins that have. There's many sets of twins out there where there's big differences between them. But there's a few sets of twins out there where they act exactly the same. They can finish each other's sentences. There's a lot of couples out there who can finish each other's sentences. And
There's
it's like,
been cases
there's connections
where twins with twins where like one twin, hurts himself or gets punched in the shoulder, the other twin can feel it miles away.
Yeah, there was these two twins. I saw it on Unsolved Mysteries. These two twins. I love Unsolved Mysteries. These two twins that I think they were like murderers or something, right? And they ended up getting put in jail together because they both murdered these people together. And they came to the conclusion together that one of them had to die for the other to live a normal life. Because they went out and tried to live normal lives, and then I think somehow came back together. Maybe even didn't come back together, but they both murdered people. Tried living normal lives because they were away from each other, but they didn't that wasn't why they murdered people. But then when they got put in jail and they were in the same jail together, they realized we're too much alike. You know what I'm saying? We're too attached. One of us has to die for both of us to live a full life. We're both living half a life. It's almost like we're the same soul split up into two bodies. So one of us has to die for the other one to live a full life, right? But this is where it gets crazy. As soon as they made that decision that one of them was going to die, the one that decided that they were going to die, and they accepted it. It's not like it was like, no, I'm not dying. Well, I'm not dying. Well, I'm not dying. No, one of them accepted, okay, I'm going to have to die. I understand that. The next day, the chick just literally, her heart stopped beating. She died. She was in jail, but she died the next day. And from that point forward, the other chick, the sister, lived a normal life and went on and didn't murder people, didn't have issues and this and that. So there's multiple souls. So it's like, if time doesn't really exist, especially if this is a simulation, can you not plug in, live your 50, 60-year life, unplug, and all the time in that simulation, you can jump to whatever time you want, right? And a lot of people like coming to the technology time, hence why we got such a big population now. Not much of a population back in the simple times, you know? Yeah. Simple times, they were fun, and some people like going back to them, but a lot more people want to come to the technology, and there's also so much more of an opportunity for change and to direct things in the right direction and see if you can change the simulation, you know? That's what it is.
Can I change the simulation?
Yes.
Because I would love to live Total Recall.
Yes, dude, you can change
I want
the
to go to
simulation.
Recall and get that memory implant.
You can change the simulation.
Of going to Mars and seeing the girl with 3 boobs.
And then, when you think about, we create our own reality, when you start thinking about that, right? It's like, who's to say that the simulation isn't, if we create our own reality, who's to say that the simulation isn't one computer running a giant simulation? Who's to say that it's not a, massive multiplayer online game where not your computer is running that game. Everybody's connecting to the same thing, but your computer is running that game, and you're actually creating that, and you chose the circumstances and that, and you were able to adjust your sliders of what you wanted things to look like and how much money you wanted to end up with and this and that, and all that. You are doing all that, so you actually are creating your reality. But here's the craziest part. What if your conscious is able, that's the big secret about all that, and if you've ever seen the movie The Secret, it's kind of true. The secret, what if your consciousness that is running your character in this simulation is actually able to change the simulation, change your perspective, and change your experience and future experiences of the simulation? You're able to actually change them like flicking a switch. Your consciousness is still able to do that. We've just been convinced because it's part of the program, or not part of the programming, it's part of what everybody says in this simulation. Everybody's not even close to awake is, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. You know, you can't change it. Sorry. You know, hey, you stuck with the shit job. You just got to take what you got. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, wait. I can change this. And when you realize it's simulation, it empowers you a little bit, but you also realize I can change this. This is all. If I'm this consciousness playing this game from the outside, then I can actually change these things. I can decide to change these things. But if I don't even realize that I'm that consciousness outside playing it, this is all out of my control, you know? So you're creating a reality. Let me get back to Singularity. Then we got the 13 reasons, 10 reasons.
I'm not the one who went off on the tangent. You are.
Dude, this is where my passion is, really. This is where my heart and my soul
I love how
lies.
the very next sentence mentions Ray Kurzweil.
Yeah, well, Ray Kurzweil, I told you, he's like the godfather of this. All right. They wouldn't even take breaks to play Farmville. Frickin' us humans.
That's great, isn't
I
it?
try not to take breaks to do stuff like that, but
I
haven't played Grand Theft Auto in a couple months, and I'm going to play it.
Well, I don't play games on my phone. I play games on my Xbox, which I can't take to work with me, so I don't take breaks to play Call of Duty.
Also, anybody out there, check out Brian. He's got No Budget News. Definitely want to check out No Budget News.
Yeah, we did a show about a year and a half ago, maybe 3 years.
He's going to be doing new ones. Also, make sure you look out for
3 Minutes to Doom.
Yes. Nick Tesla Presents 3 Minutes to Doom is going to be probably one of the most important shows over the next few years.
For people,
It's a
our
new
good
adventure.
friends, Rory and Ryan,
yes, that
is the show you want to be watching us on.
That's your show, and you might even want to come on to it. I don't know if you want to.
That is the show you would want
Yeah,
to.
I don't know if you want to tie us to your political work that you put out there, your political record. I don't know if you want to tie us to that, but that'll be the show that.
That's the show that you're interested
that'll be the
in
one.
more than
'Cause
this one.
It's
we're
in
going through our own
We're going through a
evolution.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. Don't look at it like a rock and roll radio station transitioning to jazz. Look at it as a rock and roll radio station adding Johnny Cash and some old school. You know what I'm saying? Like getting back to the basics. Even playing a little Elvis every now and then.
Oh, got
I'm all shook up. Yeah, baby. I'm all shook up.
You know, if you really got daring, you could throw in some real country like Conway Twitty.
Conway Twitty, hello. I love Conway
Can't go
Twitty.
wrong. Maybe some Sinatra. That's still considered
Ladies and
rock.
gentlemen.
I consider Sinatra.
Oh,
a form of
yeah.
rock.
I would consider it's
It's an older school version, but that's
I would call him rock.
era's rock and
All right.
roll.
We got 3 paragraphs left, and then our 10 things, and we're wrapping up this show. But
do
everybody,
this.
check out 3 Minutes to Doom. Definitely check out 3 Minutes to Doom. Will be airing within the next week or two. And then there was something else that I wanted to give a shout out to. TheBigPlantation.com. Something else. I don't fucking know. All right. Proposed mechanisms for adding superintelligence to humans. All right, see, we already hit on that. A human could potentially scan his consciousness in a computer and live eternally in virtual reality or as a sentient robot. And you think about Oculus Rift, it's like your mind can literally be twisted into a pretzel thinking about this. And it's fun. Let your mind be twisted into a pretzel and sit there on the couch for an hour or two. If you got to smoke a bowl to get through it, do what you got to do.
Just don't.
But sit there for an hour or two.
Don't base
and
your
try
whole
and
life on
untwist
studying simulation
the pretzel.
theory. That would.
Well, hold
you're
on.
going to go insane and end up in a loony bin.
No.
You'll drive yourself insane if you spend your life studying this.
Really, I don't want to say believe it, but if you really start to let the thoughts that simulation theory bring into your head, you start to let them overtake your everyday thoughts and dominate your thoughts, yes, you'll lose your mind. But you can dedicate your life to looking into this.
Oh.
There's nothing that... Imagine the Matrix.
True.
Imagine the Matrix. Neo may not have been... He was more of a hacker and this and that, but he kind of dedicated his life to figuring this out. You know, and I personally believe there's a deep-seated part of me, really deep back there, that believes if you truly figure out what this is and you got it truly figured out, you're offered an exit. Because that's defeating the point of being here. You're not supposed to figure it out. So if you're figuring it out...
Is that why nobody can answer the question, who are we, why are we here, what is life for?
Exactly. You're not allowed to. You're not supposed to.
That part is blocked. There's a firewall there. We can't access
And hey,
that
maybe that all opens up to us, but it's not programmed to open up to us for a while. Isn't it weird how some things, out of the blue, some things just like come into existence and it's like, wait, how come nobody thought of that earlier? Like, are you serious? Like, that's so simple. Like, really? Like, I can't believe I'm trying to like think of an example, but... it's really...
I can't believe you can't think of an example right now. It's you. You always have...
Well, Stan.
You've been going... Blah, 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 blah. Come on, give me something.
My examples are not always rapid fire, not always holstered up there, pal. All right, ready? All right. Futurists such as Ray Kurzweil offer. I said offer. Now let me ask you a question. All right. Author of The Singularity is Near have predicted that in a post-singularity world, humans would typically live much of the time in virtual reality, which would be virtually indistinguishable from normal reality. Kurzweil predicts, based on mathematical calculations of exponential technological development, that the singularity will come to pass by 2045. Most arguments against the possibility of the singularity involve doubts that computers can ever become intelligent in the human sense. The human brain and cognitive processes may simply be more complex than a computer could be. Furthermore, because the human brain is analog with theoretically infinite values for any process, some believe that it cannot ever be replicated in a digital digital format. Some theorists also point out that the singularity may not even be desirable from a human perspective because there is no reason to assume that a superintelligence would see value in, for example, the continued existence or well-being of humans. And that was the Matrix. That was exactly what the Matrix is, and that's why people see it. And there's many arguments to it. And one of them is that, well, what happens? And what happens? Hold on. What happens when the machines? And it makes sense, though. It really does, and that's why I think those movies are so popular, because we all come down to it, and we can't help but admit that it's true. Is that if a machine becomes so intelligent and it becomes more intelligent than us, and starts to grow in size or power, then that machine could decide, well, it's going to be more powerful than us if it's more intelligent than us, especially on a macro scale or on a giant scale, more intelligent than us. Then that machine may decide the human beings are destructive to themselves, are destructive to the planet, are destructive to other species. Human beings either need to be quarantined and kept away from everything else, or human beings need to be exterminated and removed, because and you've heard it plenty of times, the human race is a virus to this planet.
It is.
It's true.
Really
if you see how a virus acts, the human race has come to this planet.
And we've spread.
Treated, and we've spread, destroyed, poisoned. Like, we cut things down. We cut down the things that provide us oxygen. We cut them down en masse. The damn things that create the shit that gives us, like, that creates the shit that we can't live without. So basically, we can't live without those things, and we cut them down for what? Money. For fucking this fake thing called money. Like, what? We're a fucking virus.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's sick when you think about it.
It is. All right. Science fiction writer Werner Vinge. I thought I was going to say Jules Verne. I love Jules Verne. Writer Werner Vinge first used the term the singularity in this context in the 1980s when he used it in reference to the British mathematician I.J. Good's concept of an intelligent explosion brought about by the advent of superintelligent machines. The term is borrowed from physics. In that context, the singularity is a point where the known physical laws cease to apply. Exactly. And physical laws, if this is all simulation, the physical laws are just programming. And if that's the truth, we can hack this shit. Okay? And what do you think? There's remote viewing. There's so many things that can, like, kind of make you realize, whoa, you can hack this. All right? Ghosts. Think about ghosts when it comes to simulation theory. I don't think ghosts are a hack. I think there's many things that are hacks. Perfect example. What the fuck is his name? The Coral Castle. What is his name? I can't believe I can't remember his name. Edward Leedskalnin. Right before it comes up, and it's like, it's weird how the universe works sometimes. Sometimes there's certain things that I like to believe there's no such thing as coincidence. And when if you really believe that simulation theory could be true, then no such thing as a coincidence could also be true as well.
True.
That everything's just, it's all programmed.
Well,
into
at the bottom of the article you were just reading, it's
Edward
one of the
Leedskalnin, Coral Castle. Look it up.
Well, one of the C also.
One
of the C also parts said gray goo. So I just randomly typed in gray goo. Apparently this is a hypothetical end-of-the-world scenario where molecular nanotechnology in an out-of-control, self-replicating robots consume all matter on the Earth while building more of themselves.
If you've never heard of anything like that, or you've never seen anything like that, or you're interested in more of that, you want to look up, and I haven't seen the older one. I think the older one's a little bit different, kind of the same concept, but this one, that's exactly how they put it, even though there's a giant robot that comes and just stands and
I know
goes
what you're
around.
Gonna say. I have
the day the Earth stood still. It's exactly, and that's possible. That's possible not from an alien race. That's possible with us creating nanotechnology, self-healing, self-building things.
With what we're talking about today, how do we know well, hypothetically in that movie, theorizing in a bubble here.
What?
How do we know we didn't create him? He says he came here, he was an alien, all that bullshit. Maybe that was bullshit. Maybe he was programmed to say that by somebody on this planet that created him and created all that technology, and it got out.
Yeah. What if what if there is something programmed into the system, and we thought it was December 21st, 2012, and it's not actually December 21st, 2012. It's actually 100 years into the program, 100 years further into the program. What if there's something programmed in to kind of wipe everything out. Or, even better, if this is really a simulation, what if there's a, let's just say, from our perspective, a god playing this simulation? And if you've ever played SimCity, what's one thing you do after you've built things up to a certain point?
Oh, no.
You
unload holy hell on that city.
Unload hell on that city.
Here
and
comes
if you got
tornado,
a whole planet, you might start start getting bored and start really, or you might start getting upset with your creations, getting upset with your sentient beings and the only intelligent beings that are able to create and create
what,
societies.
They want me to lower taxes?
What you were once proud of because they've created societies and this and that has done the exact same thing they've done for eons or since they've been around. They create a society and a civilization and then destroy it
Maybe
from within.
that's why we all feel the need to do that when we're playing The Sims.
Yeah, it's inherent in our nature, isn't it weird? And it's entropy.
It's like we build,
and our nature is
to
dissipate and is towards chaos.
Did you play with Legos when you were younger, or Lincoln Logs, or any of those things?
Lincoln Logs were my shit.
Okay,
dude.
I don't know if you did this, but I always had this.
No, I did not. I did not like to destroy my buildings. I did not like to build them up.
No,
or
at the
build
end
a
of the
city
day, I
and
had to
destroy
put
them.
my stuff away. You know,
Yeah, no, I still couldn't do that.
No, I would.
I didn't have to put my stuff away.
I would break out if I had GI Joes I was playing with at the time, or whatever my thing was at the time, and it would be. That building would be the battlefield.
Yeah.
You know? Break out the Star Wars toys. Oh, shit, here comes the TIE fighters. Boom! Half the building.
Remember that imagination, dude? That is...
I miss it.
But hold on. When you come into this world, think about that. When you come into the simulation, when you first enter into the simulation, you're the closest point. You're still pretty close, or you're still recently... Were you outside of the simulation and knew it was all a joke and knew that this is going to be super fun when I get into there? This is going to be so much fucking fun, right? And all of a sudden you get into the simulation. And for the first 10, 15 years, you're having a fucking blast. You're like, you can sit here and you can stare at the crack on the wall and look at all the intricacies on the wall. And that's awesome to you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Your imagination is creating a river that's flowing. And you see little men on horses walking next to the river. And like, your imagination is on fire because you realize before you come here that your imagination is what creates all of this. Imagination has created every single thing. Imagination created this keyboard. Imagination created this fucking speaker. Imagination created this mug right here. Imagination created that LCD. Imagination created your glasses. Imagination created my shirt, created your shirt. Without imagination, none of these things that we have, none of them would be here.
This is very true.
Without imagination, we would not be here. Because without imagination, nobody would have thought to reproduce, at least not for human beings. Reproduction may not have been, because sexual imagination is another part of imagination, you know what I'm saying? And like that's programmed into us for reproduction, but without that imagination, we may not have the imagination to want to go out and find a chick. Like a Neanderthal may not have had the imagination to go out and find a chick, or the desire to go out and find a chick and think of the different things that he could do with her and have fun with her, you know what I'm saying? Especially back then, there's not many fun things to do.
I had a top 10 reasons life may be a simulation, but I'm gonna waive that. And I just discovered, all right, I want you to listen to this. It's an old computer game that came out in 1990 called Sim Earth.
I played Sim Earth.
Yes.
Sucks, but I know.
But the concept.
Yep.
Anyone who's never heard of it, it's kind of like your Sim City.
Yep.
But the write-up, you enjoyed Sim City, but now you think that a city is just not large enough anymore.
Yep.
Well, you should have a look at Sim Earth. This is also a simulator, but instead of looking at a cute little city, you'll have full control over the whole planet.
Yep.
I'm not talking about making sure that humans build up a civilization. No. Sim Earth puts you in control of the planet itself. The geosphere, atmosphere, evolution of simple microbes into fish, birds, reptiles, mammals, and finally intelligent life.
Yes, you think that's, and trust me, the game is a challenge, and it's almost too hard to really get going. But you think that sounds awesome, and you think that kind of a game would be awesome.
But could that be
that kind of a game? I'd love to see that kind of game come out with modern graphics and modern computing power. That would probably be a really fun game, right? But it would also be scratching too close to the truth, you know, or scratching too close to the surface of the bubble of reality. You know what I'm saying? Almost coming too close to popping the bubble of reality is when you basically start to create simulations of your world inside the simulation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But based on the simulation, based on the programming and the laws of that previous simulation. So each simulation, and that simulation of the world could, for all we know, there's consciousness in that simulation. Every character, you ever think about that? That sometimes, how do you know that a character in a video game doesn't have consciousness just like me or you? Yeah, because they're a programmed character in a video game. Well, how do you know we weren't just programmed? Yeah, you could say that with Singularity and we download our consciousness and this and that. But how do you know that we're not all just The Sims 25? And The Sims 25 is a whole planet. You know, it's 100 years, 250 or 100 or 150 years in the future. And computers have gotten to that point where you can simulate a whole planet on a computer, right? And this isn't just The Sims 25. And we are a character that was created out of this computer code. The world, or the world that we were born into, was created out of computer code. It's all fake, right? We were born into this world, right? And to anybody playing the simulation, we're just a character, and we have thoughts and this and that. You can click on us and read our thoughts, and you can hear us hear what we sound like when we talk and this and that, and see our ambitions, kind of read our mind a little bit, and shit like that when you're playing the game. But we're just a character. They didn't program consciousness into us. They didn't program us to have a soul. They programmed us to be a character and act a certain way. Who's to say that we weren't born and grew up into what we were programmed to be, but the consciousness was something else? Since we came up as something intelligent and self-aware, consciousness was attached to that. So if you look at a Grand Theft Auto game, yeah, they may not be the most detailed or the smartest people or look like they really have much ambitions, but let's just say 5-10 years from now, when you can really create, you can, basically in Grand Theft Auto, I remember them saying this when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out or Grand Theft Auto 4 came out, was that you can follow people home. When people, you see somebody walking on the street, you can follow them home or follow them to their job because people have a place to go. I'm always interested in simulation games to see how detailed they can get.
So you mean they're not just walking
They're not
around
walking in a circle. Exactly. So you can follow, and that's not necessarily the truth of Grand Theft Auto 4. They have a much more complicated pattern than just walking in a circle, but they're not walking in a pattern, you know what I'm saying? The people will eventually find a way to walk off screen or disappear, you know what I'm saying? And therefore they no longer need to be rendered, right? But think about 10, 15 years from now, even 5-10 years from now, when a Grand Theft Auto game is created, and the pedestrians, you can follow that pedestrian home, you can watch them walk into their home, you can look into the window, see them cooking dinner, see them watching TV, sitting down on the couch, cracking open a beer, watching TV. Who's to say, yeah, that might be a game. We might say that's a game, and that's really just pixels and created by the Xbox, the created by some programmer at Rockstar, right? Yeah. But who's to say that consciousness has not been imbibed or imbued or whatever on that character? Who's to say that character doesn't actually have consciousness and believe that it's real? And when you walk away, that character is still living a life, even though the computer is not generating or rendering for the game, rendering that person. They are actually still living in that world because they're living in a consciousness. And when the computer's not rendering it, they're filling in because their consciousness is filling in. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Oh, it hurts my brain. All right.
I get what you're saying, but I don't know.
What? Here's my question.
That would be an interesting game.
Can you create a...
But now let's think about the time between now and then that it would take to come out with a game with that kind of technology where the characters have that kind of consciousness.
Uh-huh.
And think about the type of technology we'll have to actually connect and access this game platform at that point. How will you distinguish? There could be times literally where you don't know whether you're in reality or in the game.
Well, yeah, and especially once it gets to 3D or virtual reality or
like true virtual reality, when I can put on Oculus Rift glasses or something like that, and
it's crazy, dude.
Or just stand in the holodeck from Star Trek, and it's like I'm sitting here talking to Nick, but I'm not sitting here talking to Nick. Holodeck, turn Nick off, and he's gone. What is wrong with you, cat?
He's crazy. All right, basically, what was I gonna say? What were we just saying?
We were talking about... Yes, I did, but it was...
No, you didn't. He did. The cat did.
Yeah.
We're obviously talking about simulation theory. Duh. Oh, come on. I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
When characters in games are conscious enough to have lives when you're not.
All right. Once artificial intelligence gets to the point where it's indistinguishable from human intelligence, right? From that point forward, and even before then, and for a few years before that, starting around now within the next couple years, who's to say that artificial intelligence doesn't have consciousness? Who's to say? When it's indistinguishable from us, just because it doesn't have a physical body, if it's indistinguishable from us as far as the way it interacts with the world, it seems like it has emotions. It seems like it has a conscience. It comes up with its own ideas. It has the ability to create things and maybe I don't want to say dream, but has the ability to have an imagination. You know what I'm saying? Not have an imagination, but who's to say it doesn't have an imagination when it gets to our level of intelligence? You know what I'm saying? What defines consciousness? You know what I'm saying? That also comes down to, do you believe a caterpillar has consciousness? Do you believe a single-celled organism has consciousness?
I believe every living creature has some form of consciousness.
Exactly. So what's to say that a programmed thing that is self-aware, that's all it is self-awareness. So when you program something to be somewhat self-aware, which we're getting not good at, but we're going to eventually get good at, who's to say those self-aware things are not conscious on some level, It's really dicey. All right, I wanted to talk about hacks, dude. We got to wrap it up in literally the next 5 minutes, but I wanted to talk about hacks and how you were saying, well, how could you hack this simulation? If it is a simulation and you think it could be hacked, how could you hack it? All right. I don't know if this is going to get into the backstory behind Edward Lee Skowron and how he did this, and you can find a lot of information on it, and a lot of it will really screw up your mind. Really, really, really screw up your mind. Okay, right? But it's like, it's true. That's why it'll screw up your mind. This is why it'll screw up your mind, because it's true. All right. Coral Castle is a stone structure. Coral Castle is it says it. Coral Castle is a stone structure created by the Latvian-American eccentric Edward Lee Skowron, north of the city of Homestead, Florida, in Miami-Dade County, at the intersection of South Dixie Highway and Southwest 157th Avenue. The structure comprises numerous megalithic stones, mostly limestone, formed from coral, each weighing several tons. It currently serves as a privately operated tourist attraction. Coral Castle is noted for legends surrounding its creation that claim it was built single-handedly by Lee Skowron using reverse magnetism and/or supernatural abilities to move and carve numerous stones weighing many tons. All I can tell you, if people out there,
that would explain the pyramids.
That's kind of like a hack, but he did it himself. Edward Lee Skowron built this castle himself, excavated the stone from under the property, and built this place himself. And these stones are several tons. So it's not like, oh, yeah, well, he just figured out a pulley system and this and that. No. Several tons? One dude ain't doing that. Yeah, maybe you get 10 guys there, and I'm sure there's skeptics out there that say, well, no, he had to have people helping him or he had to use machinery, blah, blah, blah. If you look at all the stories of when he built it and around that time and the people that were around, he built that shit himself. It's obvious as anything. He built that shit himself. The people who were delivering him building materials, he would unload the building materials, tell the guy would pull up with his truck, he would tell the guy, all right, I need you to go walk around the block or walk like 2 or 3 blocks away and then come back and I'll have it unloaded. And the guy would go walk 2 or 3 blocks away and come back and the shit would be unloaded. The shit would be off the guy's truck in Edward Lee Skowron's yard or on his site. Like, wait, what? And Edward Lee Skowron didn't have people there helping him. He had a way. He figured out a hack to this system. So the physical laws of our reality we think that exist may not actually be laws. They're just programmed. They're programmed code that there's a way to hack and get around. But since we're part of the program too, it's not just something simple like, oh yeah, well just try this. It's really easy. No, it's really hard and it's going to be really complicated and you're going to have to really dedicate a piece of yourself to that hack. That's why a hack isn't even almost worth it, because it's not the point of you being here is to figure out a hack. Maybe it is. Maybe that's why you really want to come here. But most people come here for the experience and to enjoy this experience or to experience it and try and change it. Or if it's a simulation of the past, experience it and try and observe and try and understand what happened in the past or understand what the past was like, because the past now or the future is dismal. You know, it's like the Matrix Earth, which is like so sad and scary looking. All right, so that's Squirrel Castle. That's a what do you call it?
I don't want to live in that future.
Crazy. All right, terms far from physics in that context, singularity is a point where the known physical laws cease to apply. All right, so that's what I was just reading is whatis.techtarget.com, tech, T-E-C-H, /definition /singularity -the. All right, and now everybody else, here we go. Oh, man, this stuff's so long. Brian, I don't know if I want to touch on this. I don't know if I want to go this far. All right. Ancestor simulators.
That is your call, sir.
I'm just going to read the first, what do you call it? Paragraph of each one. So if any of these sound like they're left off, or any of these you want to hear more of that particular point of why this is simulation, check out listverse.com/2013/02/10-reasons-life-b-a-computer-simulation. Type that into your shit and read the rest. But we're running out of time, but I really wanted to touch on these.
Yeah.
All right. So, ancestor simulators. Computers now process huge amounts of data, and some of the most intensive productive tasks involve simulations. Simulations consider multiple variables and use artificial intelligence to analyze them and examine outcomes. Some simulations are games. Some are models of real-life situations, such as the spread of disease. Some are history simulators, which can be games like Sid Meier's Civilization, or can mimic the real-life growth of society over time. So you see there how a simulation could be... We're already interested in simulations, so who's to say in the future we don't create a simulation for this, and that's what we are, and that's what I was talking about as far as consciousness in a video game. How do you know that consciousness in a video game doesn't, or video game characters don't also already have consciousness? All right, if someone can, they will. Okay, so it may be possible to create a universe inside a computer, but would it be moral? Humans are complex beings with feelings and relationships. Mightn't there be something wrong in creating a whole fake world of them? Wouldn't the responsibility for every action in that universe fall on our shoulders, and wouldn't it be too much for us to bear? Maybe, but that doesn't matter, because to some people the idea of running a simulation would just be too tempting. Exactly. All right, visible flaws. Hello, the two black cats are deja vu. Woo,
That's
right.
when they... Wait, what was it? That's a glitch.
That's a glitch in the Matrix.
When they changed something.
Yeah, they did change something. All right, if a simulation is advanced enough, those inside needn't recognize it as a simulation at all. If you were to grow a brain in a vat and manipulate it with stimuli, it wouldn't know it's in a vat. It would assume itself a living, breathing, active person. Exactly, Brian. Remember that, okay? Your brain has no contact with the outside world whatsoever, okay? Your eyes transfer information from the outside world to your brain, but your eyes are not your brain. Okay, your ears hear information from the outside world, but your ears are not your brain. Your brain is literally in the dark, closed off in the dark with no eyes on itself, like no eyes, no senses, no anything. That's why they can do brain surgery on people with them awake, because your brain doesn't have nerves to feel pain like that. You know what I'm saying? Your brain can feel pressure, you know, your skull can feel pressure, but you don't have like pain nerves and pain receptors in your brain like that, because your brain is something else. All right, it would assume itself a living, breathing, active person. But even advanced simulations can have flaws, right? Wouldn't we notice some imperfections, some glitch in the Matrix? Yes. I got to read that one, sorry. Maybe we do see such glitches in our everyday lives. The Matrix offered the example of deja vu. When something seems inexplicably familiar, the simulation may be skipping like a scratch CD. Supernatural elements like ghosts or miracles could also be glitches. According to simulation theory, people really do witness these phenomena, and they do so because of bugs in the simulation's code. The internet offers plenty of anecdotal evidence of these glitches. Keep your mind and eyes open, and maybe you'll see some for yourself. Yeah, there are glitches out there, dude. All right, math makes up life. Everything in the universe is quantifiable in some way. And that's the guy talking about the computer code. The Oxford University, believe he's from Oxford University. James Gates, if anybody wants to look him up out there, James Gates has actually found computer code. You motherfucker, you just shook the camera and I'm going to fuck you up. Our third host shook the camera because he's just fucking...
Bad kitty.
He's mischievous. All right, anybody out there, look up James Gates. I believe he's from either University of Maryland or Oxford. And he has found a certain kind of computer code that was invented in the 1940s and that is in our web browsers, which you heard us open up the show with. And he has actually found computer code embedded in in equations, mathematical equations that are used to describe our universe, or have been used to describe the function and basis of our universe. Okay? That's what's crazy. So check out James Gates. Everything in the universe is quantifiable in some way. Even life is quantifiable. Despite medicine's long reputation as an inexact science, the Human Genome Project, which sequenced the chemical base pairs that make up human DNA, was solved using computers. All the secrets of the universe are solved using math. In fact, we can explain the universe better using math than we can with words.
Interesting.
Exactly. It's all numbers. It's all ones and zeros.
I want to hear a little
Dude,
more on.
it's all numbers. It's all ones and zeros. Everything. If everything is mathematical, everything could be broken down to binary code. So if computers and their data progress enough, could a functional human be created using the genome sequence inside a computer? And if you can build one being, mightn't you build a whole world of them? Scientists speculate that someone may have already done that and created our world. To determine whether we're living in a simulation, researchers are undertaking serious investigations by examining the math that makes up our universe.
Very interesting.
And I think that some of the world elite, you know, you like to talk about the world elite, the Rothschilds,
Yes.
I think that's something that I think is a coveted secret that has been passed down over generations and thousands of years from Egypt. Egypt knew this. Egypt knew this. Yes, they still know. They still know that none of this is real, but they want to continue on the simulation and still affect it and change it and try and fuck shit up as much as they can. So they know that there's hacks and ways to prolong their own life, but they're not. They still can't be immortal. That the simulation has not progressed to the point where immortality is available. They already know they're immortal, but as far as in this incarnation where they have all this money and this power, you know what I'm saying? Because what if you're able to plug into the thing, but you're not able to determine whether you're poor, whether you're rich, what family you want to go to, who you know what I'm saying? Like, what if you don't have any control? I personally believe you do have control. You choose a lot of the circumstances of your life. But what if that's not the truth? All right. And the anthropic principle. It's amazing that humans exist. For life to start on Earth, we needed everything to be just right. Yes, all the dials needed to be just correct for life to even exist on Earth.
True.
And they're all just correct. What? All right, we're the perfect distance away from the sun. The atmosphere has the correct composition, and gravity is just powerful enough. And though there may be many other planets with those conditions, life gets even more impressive when you widen your perspective beyond Earth. If some cosmic factor like dark energy were even a little stronger, life probably wouldn't exist, either here or anywhere else in the universe. The anthropic principle asks, why? Why did these conditions come about so perfectly for us? One explanation is that the conditions were deliberately set in place with the intention of giving us life. Every convenient factor was a fixed condition in some vast lab experiment. The factors were just plugged into the universe, and then the simulation was started. This let existence and our individual planet evolve the way it has. Now, there's a game I play on my Windows phone. I don't even know if I have it anymore. I think it's called Rare Earth. I believe, yes, it is called Rare Earth. If you have a Windows phone out there, get this game. It's called Rare Earth, and it's basically a game where you put planets into motion around the sun, right? And the sun only has a limited amount of time to stay alive. The sun goes through the stages of brown dwarf, you know what I'm saying, and eventually, like, exploding star or whatever it is, it eventually turns into a black hole or whatever, right? But you can put planets around the sun, but you have to try and get, their orbits correct. So that it can be an elliptical orbit, it can be just a round orbit, right? You got to try and get their orbits correct. But once you get their orbit correct, you got to try and get it in the sweet spot. Can't be too high, can't be too close, can't be too far away. And once you get it in that sweet spot, you got to. There's asteroids that come in that could possibly hit it. There's aliens that come in and could mess with your planet, or could just give it a little nudge or something like that. There's other planets, more planets you put in there. There's more of a chance that the planet's paths could cross. But the longer you have a planet in the sweet spot, it's really hard to get a planet in the sweet spot and keep it there, right? But once you get a planet in the sweet spot, life starts to develop. And you see little notifications pop up above the planet as it's rotating around the sun. That life is developing, and that biological life is developing. Intelligent life is developing. But then all of a sudden it fucking crashes into a plane or an asteroid hits it, and you lose all that life. And it's like, oh my God, like that, just that little simulation gives you an idea of how easily our whole universe could be just a giant simulation. Could be that with 1,000 times more detail, you know. And somebody was able to tweak all the settings and were able to put us just right. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really have to try and get it right. They were able to just tweak all the settings and make it right so that we're in the sweet spot all the time, you know. Like what it says, one explanation is that the conditions were deliberately set in place with the intention of giving us life. All right. The consequence of this is that those behind the simulation needn't be humans at all. Some other set of beings may be running it, and they choose to hide their presence from us, i.e. aliens.
Yes.
Perhaps alien life knows how to manipulate the computer program and can make themselves invisible to us. Or perhaps alien life is us in the future accessing this. And, of course, they can put a cloak on, like what did I say earlier? The trainer, you can put a cloak on. All right, we're coming up on 2 hours. I can't believe it. Parallel universes.
I can't either.
The theory of parallel worlds, where the multiverse posits an infinite number of realities with an infinite number of possibilities within them. Picture the floors of an apartment building. Universes are part of the multiverse, much like floors are part of the building. They share a common layout, but each is distinct, and they'll contain different things. Jorge Luis Borges likened the multiverse to a library. Within the library are an infinite number of books. Some differ by just a letter, while others are completely different stories. The theory has all sorts of crazy implications for the meaning of life. But if there really are multiple universes, why did they come about? How come there are so many? If we're in a simulation, the multiple universes are multiple simulations running at once. Each simulation has its own set of variables, and this isn't random. The simulation's creator plugged in different variables to test different scenarios and observe different outcomes. Yes, and you can jump. If that's the truth, which I kind of think it is, you can jump from the realities. All right, you can jump from what reality your consciousness, your current consciousness gets to experience. You can jump and choose them. That's part of choice, is that you're actually choosing which, like, choose your own adventure. You're choosing which reality you're going to enter into, because the realities just keep branching out in the outcomes and possibilities, the multiverse. All right.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, Fermi's paradox. Our planet is one of many with conditions that could support life, and our sun is quite young compared to others in the universe. You therefore might expect proof of life elsewhere, from planets where life runs parallel to ours, or from ones where life began eons earlier. Furthermore, humans have ventured into space, so shouldn't civilizations elsewhere have also tried space travel? With a billion other galaxies out there, some of which are billions of years older than ours, wouldn't at least one have mastered space travel? Since Earth has the conditions for life, you'd even expect Earth to have been colonized by an advanced civilization at some point. Yet we have found no trace of any other form of intelligent life in the universe. The Fermi paradox can simply be summed up as, where is everybody? God is a programmer. Hello.
Yeah.
People have long exchanged ideas of a God as a designer of the world. Some imagine one particular God as a bearded man in the clouds, but simulation theory says that God or any other may instead be a bespectacled programmer hunched over a keyboard. Now think about religion and all the religions and what they kind of come back to, and that God created the planet and this and that. What are you doing, Brian?
I hit the wrong button. How do I turn the volume down?
What the fuck? You just turn it off. Like, what do you do?
I was trying to download something and it had one of those pop-ups.
We're going to put your computer on mute from now on. People have long exchanged ideas of a God as a designer of the world. Some imagine one particular God as a bearded man, blah, blah, blah. Okay, programmer hunched over a keyboard, which we kind of said. And think about religion as people... He did not just do it again.
I'm trying to exit out of this shit.
Oh, Brian.
Just get me off of this page completely and totally. There we go.
All right. As we've established, a programmer can create worlds out of simple binary. The only question then is why the programmer would encode within us the desire to worship our creator, a key part of most religions. This could be intentional or unintentional. Perhaps the programmer wants us to know that he or she exists and wrote code to give us an innate feeling of having been created. Maybe the programmer intended nothing of the sort, but we've intuited the creator's existence nonetheless. The idea of a God as a programmer even goes along with the idea of intelligent design in two different ways. The first is that code started life, letting everything evolve within the simulator to where we are today. The second is that it might make literal creationism exactly right. Just like the Bible says, God created the world and life in 7 days, but he would have used a computer rather than cosmic powers. And then outside the universe, outside the universe, what's outside of our universe?
You know, that makes sense, because I guess it would take playing straight for 7 days, get a little bit of sleep in between. You could probably create the world on The Sims.
Not The Sims, but Sims 25, yeah. I agree. All right. What's outside of the universe? With simulation theory, the answer would seem to be a supercomputer surrounded by advanced beings, but an even crazier possibility exists. Those beings who run the simulation might be as fake as we are. They might be in a simulation themselves. Turtles all the way down, babe. Turtles all the way down. There may be multiple layers of simulation. As Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom suggests, that's the Oxford guy. That's the other guy I wanted people to check out if you want to know more about this, Nick Bostrom. The post-humans running our simulation are themselves simulated beings, and their creators, in turn, may also be simulated beings. Here may be room for a large number of levels of reality, and the number could be increasing over time. So how do we know that in this reality it's been programmed that we can't fly? But in the simulated reality just above us that's actually playing us, you can fly. And that's why we have so many dreams about flying and so many desires to fly, because it's like that's innate in us. And they're like, all right, well, let's create a simulation where you can't fly. Let's see if we can create a world like ours, but you can't fly, and see what people would do and how people would act and what would happen. You know what I'm saying? All right.
I like that idea. Yeah, that's an interesting concept.
It's like you sat down to a game of The Sims. And how many times have we said it? It's like you sat down to a game of The Sims and played it until your characters created a Sims game of their own. Their Sims, in turn, programmed and played their own game, while you are secretly part of an even larger simulation. This still leaves a question. What is outside the creator's real universe? It's an idea so far removed from our lives that it could be impossible to speculate on it. But if simulation theory can at least explain our universe's limited size and note what's immediately outside it, well, that's a good start in determining the nature of existence, even though we don't know the laws and we have no idea what's outside of it. We're trapped inside this box not having any idea. You know what I'm saying? Schrodinger's cat. Fake people make for easy simulations. Fake people make for easy simulations. Now think about all the zombies that we talk about watching the regular TV program and this and that. Well, you're going to need to have a big chunk of the people. Maybe not all of them, maybe not 1 billion of them, but you're going to have a percentage of them, maybe 10% or something like that. What's 10% of 7 billion? 700 million, right? 700 million? Yeah, think about that. There's probably 700 million zombies on this planet, maybe even more. But you're going to need people that are all kind of on the same page. There's no... Because the processing power for them is reserved to all kind of being the same, kind of being alike. You know what I'm saying? They don't need to really... There's not much extra processing power needed for those people because there's nothing out of the ordinary about them. There's nothing out of the normal about them, right? All right. Maybe I'm on the wrong page. I don't know. Or on the wrong track. I don't know. And this is going to be it for everybody. So this has been an amazing show. I'm going to break it down into two parts.
A lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
I'm going to break it down into 2 parts. So, what do you call it? I don't know. Everybody gonna have to check this shit out. If the first part was interesting and you like the second part, keep on watching. Oh no, we died. Our camera died. We almost got it all in.
Mimsy.
We almost got it all in though, Brian. That's pretty amazing how much video we got. We haven't had that much video in a long time. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Even if computers get vastly more powerful, the universe might seem much too complex to fit in one. Each of the 7 billion people currently alive is complex enough to rival any computer imaginable, and we're an infinitesimal part of the infinitesimal, whatever. And we're an infinitesimal part of a vast universe which contains billions of galaxies besides ours. It will be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to take into account that many variables. But also think about all those planets. That's just the image that we're seeing of them, okay? So that could all just be projected image or literally just pixels that we're seeing. We get up to it, and it's like a hologram. There's nothing there. Like, we think it's like planets and galaxies and star systems, but you put your hand through it, and there's nothing there. It's really just an image we're being fucking sold on. All right. But a simulated world needn't be anywhere as complex as it seems. A convincing simulation would need just a few detailed key figures and then a great many barely sketched secondary players. Think about the people, all of the people throughout your life. How many people do you interact with? Physically talking to and realizing this is a real person, not a robot, not a shadow, not a fucking hologram. This is a real person. How many people? 1,000 people? 5,000 people? How many people in your entire life do you end up actually interacting and talking to? Not that many people. When you think about the billions of people that are on this planet.
True.
Not that many people are you actually physically talking to and interacting with. But a simulated world doesn't need to be anywhere as complex as it seems. A convincing simulation would need just a few detailed key figures and then a great many barely sketched secondary players. Think of games like those in the Grand Theft Auto series. They contain hundreds of people, but you only interact with a few. Like, life could be very much like that. You have yourself and you have your close family and friends, but everyone you pass on the street, they're not real. They have few thoughts and no emotions. They're little more than set dressing. Let's stick with the open world video game analog for a bit. These games contain large worlds, but only your current location contains true action at any one time. Reality could run the same way. Areas out of sight could be stored in memory and are brought up only when needed, saving huge amounts of processing power. And what about distant areas that you'll never visit, such as all those other galaxies? And think about when I was talking about the Truman Show, and it's like how it's like, well, I gotta go to California. I gotta go to California, see if they even exist. The simulation never needs to run these areas at all. It just needs to display convincing images when you try to view them. But never mind people on the street or distant stars, you don't even have proof that you exist, at least as a person you imagine. We think the past has happened because we have memories and because of records like photos and books. But what if all that is just freshly written code? What if your life was turned on the last time? Your life was turned on the last time you blinked your eyes. The disturbing thing is that it is impossible to prove or disprove. Yeah. So exactly, and in that note, you can't even prove that you exist. All that could be computer code. All your memories could be computer code. You're programmed to feel like those are memories, and you know you experienced them because you remember them. But that's all just those actual remembrances or those memories of being there and this and that are all computer code. Messes up your brain, Brian. So on that note, this has been a wonderful show. A wonderful show, Brian.
All I gotta say to that is 001010101010100110111001110.
I know, right? I know, right?
Blah.
All right.
Now you got me seriously considering the possibility.
Yeah,
I mean, what the fuck?
3NN23. It's been a great episode. Check us out, Facebook.com/3NN podcast. Everybody check out thebigplantation.com. You can email us at 3NN@outlook.com. You can email Brian if you ever wanted to. You can email me at notice@outlook.com. Brian, you can find him at brian3nn@hotmail.com. And on that note, look for us on iTunes. One of these days we'll be on there.
Yeah, eventually.
Hey, eventually we'll be on motherfucking iTunes. So we're going to head on out. We got yeah, we are moving on up. Moving on up to the side. All right, we are going to get out of here. Everybody have a great week, great weekend, and we will see you next Thursday for your 3NN Thursday.
If the simulation allows us.
Make sure you make time, bitches. Sit down with your old lady or your bitchy man.
And if you can't make the time, reprogram your simulation to give you the time.
Exactly. You know what? I think about that sometimes. With so many people like, oh, my schedule, I can't do this and that. It's like, your schedule is fake. This is actually like we're talking about reality, the real truth and reality of the world. So fuck your fucking schedule and schedule us in, because this is important stuff that you want to talk about, and it'll really have you thinking for days after. But I ain't got time for all this, or you know what, I got to do this and I got to do that. If you ain't got to work, I don't want to hear the bullshit. If you ain't got to work, it means that hanging out with somebody else or doing something else is more important than coming and hanging out for an hour or two and talking about some really deep shit and getting philosophizing on shit. You know what I'm saying, Brian?
How many people, going back since we started this show, were we supposed to have come on?
There were probably about 7 people, maybe 8 people that were supposed to come on, but none of them have been anybody, and no offense to any of them that we've been in contact with, but none of them have actually been anybody who has any content that they put out whatsoever.
True.
Other than wanting to come on our show and talk. And hey, that's cool. Like, I don't mind having friends on and this and that, but then when we offer you to come on and you don't want to come on, or you can't find us a time to make it, find time in your schedule to make it happen or whatever, then it's like, if you're not a content producer or whatever, it's like, I'd really rather, instead of focusing on friends and waste, I don't want to say wasting my time, but trying to get them to come on the show, I'd rather focus my time on trying to get people who are content producers and have a voice and have an audience to come on the show and talk about the things, instead of somebody who I just know who might want to talk about it. I remember on Grown Up Stuff, Swamp one time, no offense to Swamp, no offense to his brother-in-law, but I remember one time, all of a sudden, Swamp, one show, his brother just sat down and was on the show and was like, started talking this and that, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, who's this? Like, wait, somebody just walks up on the show and is interested in what we're talking about and they're all of a sudden a guest, and I don't even know who this person is. And it's like I don't want to say he's not intelligent, because he's intelligent. No, he's intelligent, but he's not fully woken up to everything that I was trying to talk about. So it's like it just didn't jive with me. It was like I didn't want to be trying to argue with somebody who hasn't fully looked into things as much as I have. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to sit there and argue. And it's like, okay, I'll argue with you. Hold on, I'll argue with you if you have a following of people who agree with what you're saying. But if you're just some person that stumbled across the show and now all of a sudden you think I'm going to be a guest on your show and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong and this and that, and it's like, well, you weren't even invited on the show. You just sat down and started talking. Like that's not how it works.
Well,
but,
my
but
theory
that's
is,
also,
if you're arguing with sheep, that's like arguing with a wall.
Well, that person wasn't a sheep. That's the thing, is like I was actually interested in arguing with them, but it was more the like, who are you? Where'd you come from? Like there's got to be some sort of vetting before people come on the show. It's not just like, and that's why we haven't done a call-in show. But honestly, I would really like to do, if I can afford to get it within the next month or so, is on 3 Minutes to Doom. I'd like to have at least 15-20 minutes of that show to be a call-in section, so we can talk to people about things. Sorry, we've never done a call-in section on 3NN, and I honestly, going forward, depending on how things go, but I don't know if we will ever do a call-in section. So, on that note, everybody, have a great week, great weekend. Really think about things, all right? Think about things when you're dreaming, you got some weird dreams and all of a sudden you wake up. What if your weird dreams are actually closer to reality than what you think is real reality in your waking life?
I just had a thought. What if when we're asleep and dreaming, that is us really in our real reality? That's when we take the goggles off and...
See, that would make sense a little bit as far as why it's so weird and why it's so like abstract,
like so alien.
It's very abstract, but I don't believe that's when we're taking it off. I believe especially if we're just a computer simulation that can live for 1,000, or we're living indefinitely, eternally almost, or infinitely. If we're living infinitely, 50, 60 years ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to take this thing off. We need, our consciousness itself needs a break from it, but it only needs a break from. It doesn't need a break to step away and be reminded every night that, hey, this is all fake. You know what I'm saying? It just needs a break from the grind. You know what I'm saying? The it's a lot to take in. It's sensory overload. Yeah. So if you try and stay up for 48 hours, your senses are worn down. Your senses are shot or beat. You got to go to sleep. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Some people are a little bit different, and that can explain insomnia and shit like that. But it's like, I don't think we step away from it. I think that the time we step away from it is when we die, or near-death experiences. We're very close to stepping down. I think near-death experiences, people, when they say they can see their body, that's them seeing their body is actually them kind of taking off the goggles or removing themselves from it temporarily and reminding themselves that this is all fake. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people when near-death experiences lead to an actual death, and it's not a near-death experience, it's an actual death, but the people still had the experience of a near-death experience. I think they stepped out of it enough to know this is all simulation, and they have that choice right then and there. Do I want to go back into the simulation? And, well, considering what happened in the simulation, I might be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life or this or that, but since I know it's all simulation, I have the choice to step out right now.
Like, for example...
I'm going to step out right now.
For example, Dave Mustaine, the singer from Megadeth, was clinically pronounced dead for 20-something seconds back in the 80s. Yeah. And I think a member of Motley Crue had a similar situation. But like, so you're saying like that's like when they're basically disconnecting from the game and
I would
they
say
made the decision to go back in.
I would say they put the game on pause. The consciousness is actually putting the game on pause, or maybe not the consciousness. It's the game is being forced into pause, and the consciousness is being forced to realize that it's just a game for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And also, but that doesn't explain, like, there's very religious people and Christian people out there who have had near-death experiences where they experienced talking to a god. You know what I'm saying? So is that something else? I don't know. And we could go so much more into this. That's why we're going to have to at least touch on it on another show. There's a lot more to delve into. Like, the rabbit hole's a lot deeper than this. You think we're like really far down the rabbit hole? The rabbit hole gets a lot. Like, where do aliens fit into this? Tell me where the aliens fit
We're going down the rabbit hole. Hold on. And we thought we were getting near the bottom, and
the
then
Moon
we
Matrix.
saw there's a million little branches.
You were looking up David Icke and his the Matrix, or his book about the Matrix or whatever, right? David Icke believes in the Moon Matrix. And that the moon is actually projecting all of this,
that's
all of our
kinda what I read
reality
from him.
You know, and I don't believe, but I've come across a lot of stuff.
There is something with the moon.
There's a very slight part of me that believes that the moon could be a hollow spaceship from back in the day. But if that's true, how do we know that spaceship didn't pull up one day and find a barren planet and literally just go like literally just start projecting the hologram of trees, life, all of that onto this, and the people that were on that spaceship died, and the simulation's just running on its own now. We're all just a part of that simulation that's being projected from the moon. So the universe and everything is real. We're the only simulation. Hence why UFOs and stuff would want to watch us and observe us, because we think we're real. But in all reality, when you think about reality and atoms and stuff like that, we're hollow. Atoms are 99% empty. So it's like, oh, so we're really not even here. We're not even real. You know, matter, what we think of as matter, not even real. You know? I don't know. And maybe that's why moon rocks or space rocks are so valuable. Yeah, they're hard, like, space rocks, not like every day we're bringing back space rocks from the moon or whatever, but maybe there's something else to that. Maybe the moon is an actual physical thing and has the atom of a moon rock, the atoms in a moon rock are like 98% matter. And we're like, whoa, how come the atom in a moon rock is 98% matter and all of our atoms and everything we have on planet Earth is 99% empty? You know? Wouldn't that be weird?
Well, we've been taught all our lives the moon affects the tides of the ocean and such. Why is that?
Gravity, the laws of our this simulation.
Yes, but
the laws of the simulation. All right, that was fucking awesome, Brian. Great show. We'll see everybody next week. 3 Thursdays. Until then, hey, we didn't say I believe we definitely can definitively say today that we cracked your mind wide open like an egg on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Everybody have a great week. We will see you, next
week?
Yeah, next week, next Thursday. Rock and roll. Here we come. 420, here we come.
Will you take part in my life, my love? That is my dream. Life is but a dream. It's what you make it.